Changes?
Not so much a change, but I want to just make the announcement so people are clear that originally warned for this hearing was an appeal of the administrative officer's decision regarding whether events could be utilized on a horse farm without site plan approval. The applicant, after a lot of discussions with the zoning administrator, withdrew that application, and that application is not on the agenda. So if we have anybody who's here for the Borgo appeal, or anybody who's watching as far as the Borgo appeal, that application has been withdrawn.
So is it anticipated there'll be a site plan application?
No, they decided to put their events on a level that is more customary for agricultural use. In other words, only instead of having, say, up to 30 horses from elsewhere, they may have a couple, 2 or 3 or so. But they were able to work it out with the zoning administrator as to what that boundary would be that would keep them agricultural.
That it? All right. If everybody can review the minutes of July 16th.
Under wind energy, I didn't understand this, the first paragraph. It says the applicant is requesting that the tower can remain erected for a period of 5 days not to exceed 60 days. I didn't get that. 5 days not to exceed 60 days?
I think we would probably take out the 5 days, remain erected for a period of not to exceed 60 days. If that.
Okay.
Didn't they up it to one, I thought it was 120 days.
Well, we ended up with 120 days, so I don't know if that's what they
Okay.
asked for.
Okay.
And on the driveway issue on page 2, on Jonathan Brathwaite's, it said, the one that starts with Michael Source, it says they deal frequently with traffic issues and people getting hit because they aren't aware. Is that really what he said? Are people getting hit frequently on?
I don't think so.
No, I didn't think so
ladies
either.
ready?
I mean, I can understand that there's people, anyways.
Can we
Why don't we leave it as traffic issues?
look at the video and see if you can clarify what was said?
Or, no, it's not that important, I guess, but.
I think I can just simply take out the words "and people getting hit because they aren't aware." Just take that out.
Yeah, traffic issues captures the, captures the problem. The next paragraph down, he asked if there are there, I think just take out a there.
Got it.
And, larger than, they prefer a slightly larger, there's a paragraph that starts with Jim D. Displayed the lots and discussed them with open spaces. This is on, Donovan and O'Donnell.
Page 6, second
Yeah,
paragraph.
page 6, second paragraph.
Okay, yep.
Slightly larger, you don't need than, slightly larger home lot, just take out than in the last sentence. Yeah.
Got it.
That's all I have, hardly anything of substance, just,
I'll make a motion to approve as revised.
Amended.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, up next is Sherry Willett and Deborah Campbell for a revision to a subdivision boundary line adjustment. Will we be able to hear them from there?
Actually, can.
It'll be all right? Okay.
Move back? Yeah, maybe you guys could just kind of switch spots.
for a few moments.
When the music stopped, yeah.
So where are we, Mitch? Can I see the thing up there?
Yeah, I'll actually let me
Rotate, counterclockwise.
Actually, the way you have to do this is you have to do it 3 times this way to actually make this work.
You were actually out there for a site visit a year and a half ago.
Let's make this
Yeah.
thing
It
go in a
was-
little bit, well, for those who don't
It's on Silver
remember,
Street, just before George.
there's a location map over
No.
here.
Isn't it?
It's
Yeah.
Silver Street, Isham Road down here, and the properties are in this particular area. Actually, let me grab the,
You were talking about road maintenance on the main road.
Yeah.
Would it be better to turn the lights down or up?
It's hard for the public to see it on TV.
Oh, I see.
So,
So what are we adjusting?
basically there's this little area over here that is 0.13 acres, 5,552 square feet, which would go from their lot 2 to their neighbor Lamke and Halliday.
So the line is going from the solid black dots to the open dots.
Right, this line over here is discontinuing, and this would be the new line. And as I understand, and I mean, I ask you to try to comment on it, it has to do with the pond that is over here.
Right. The berm going over, it's only like 20 feet to the north.
So in order for us to have access to that side of the pond, currently there's a fence that's not right up against the pond. It's not really where the property line is, but we would like to own that piece next to the pond, so we would be permitted to have that access no matter who the property owners are of the abutting piece of property.
Okay.
I'll just mention the other changes that were made here. They shortened by 25 feet this building envelope. So this, which was originally 150, is now 125. And it shows the new location of the water wastewater system. The Willett and Campbell worked with Webb's to move the septic system that was originally over here over to this area and further from their well.
Okay.
And feel free to add, I mean, I'm just...
No, you're doing good.
Nothing's non-conforming, everything's, still meet lots, dimensions, all that. Yep,
Correct.
yep.
Board members have any questions? Anybody here from the public like to speak?
Any comments from the public?
All right, we have a draft decision. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and approve the draft as written.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Simple, yeah, thank you.
I like the easy ones.
Just out of curiosity, Mitch, would that moving the septic have needed to come back for a subdivision change or not? Yeah, I didn't
It
think
was
so.
just simply,
Yeah, okay.
I just wanted to show that it was a difference on the
Yep.
plan.
Yep, yep.
All right, up next is Robert Frost for a sketch plan review. It was continued from July 16th.
And I think, just to mention, we had the site plan at 6,
Site visit.
site visit, I'm sorry, thank you. We had the site visit at 6 o'clock. From the board that was there, we had Dennis, we had Greg, we had John, Ted, Sarah was there. From the applicant, we had Jason Bernard, we had Robert Frost, and other people, and we had Kate who was there, and we had Robert Hedden who was there. We had Tom. I'm sorry, I forgot your last name again. O'Rourke. We also had a Derek Nelson who was there. And we, at the site visit, we had a chance to
And several unidentified mosquitoes.
a bunch of, and let me, and actually, let me just add, we also had Ronan Murphy who was there. Ronan Murphy was in attendance. We took a look at the proposed access areas. We looked at the building envelopes. We saw some of the areas that were wildlife habitat. We saw a very diversity of different areas. We saw some additional access opportunities and locations of wastewater systems.
And we did go up on the existing town road, I believe.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, so we walked up the Class 4 section of Town Road 13. We observed the grade and the topography to the east and the west of that road. We observed washouts on the steep section of the road and sight line issues at the crest of that steep section of the road.
And I guess one can just also say grades coming off the Town Road 13 as well as other grades off to the side of possible accesses as well.
Yep. And we walked down the proposed driveway from Lot 1, which is an old farm road, down to O'Neill Road.
And from what I observed, it didn't seem to be as steep as it looks like on this map.
That's true.
It seemed much more gradual.
Yep. The driveway on Lot 1, right?
Yes.
Driveway,
Yes.
access on Lot 1, yep.
Even close to the building envelope where they're showing it, where it looks the
Yeah.
steepest.
Yeah, they had it marked out where the building envelope was.
Yep.
Both of them.
So there's some details that need to be worked out and real grades as opposed to our topo maps grades that.
But it looks doable, and I guess based on what you guys saw, it's not a showstopper, it's not a cliff face.
No.
No. My conclusion was that with work, both accesses were, could be made safe. It's my conclusion. That's just one board member.
Personal opinion, yep.
Yeah, personal opinion. Again, it'll depend on what grades you can achieve, because there seems to be some question on, we don't have any real data on what the grade is on the steep section of Town Road 13 and what it could be made to be if you took out the very crest of that and brought it down. You end up stretching out the elevation, but and there certainly is a sightline problem on that crest right now. I agree with some of the testimony we've received that that can be problematic the way it is right now. Something needs to change it needs to be engineered, I guess, if you're going to have more than one, house and cars going up and down it.
And any indication that crest is due to ledge?
Oh, probably is.
Okay.
Yep. Again, that's part of the engineering. You wouldn't use, so you certainly can identify the problem here at Sketch. You would have to be convinced with the engineering details at preliminary as to whether it'll work or not. So I think it would be an open issue until you got that engineering.
I think it's important to add to that is that any type of work being done on the town, on Town Highway 13 would also need approvals from the town itself.
Yeah.
Town Highway Foreman.
Very true. Yep. And it's a Class 4 road, so the town would not be contributing to that work, I guess.
Would or would not?
Would not.
Yeah.
Right. We also observed, we also walked from the access on Town Road 13 extension there past the Lot 7 house site, and the grade to Lot 1, if you were considering making one access off of Town Road 13, is very, you're at the height, it's very level. It's quite level. I wouldn't call it perfectly level, but it's, the grades are nothing compared to making the driveway go up from O'Neill up through Lot 1. Again, once you're up there. Gotta get up there first. We also saw evidence, it was pointed out that there's evidence of water that comes off the hill during, storm events, which is probably part of the...
On Lot 7 toward Town
Right,
Road 13.
towards Town Road 13, which probably contributes to the washouts and the ditching along, that happens along that section of the road. There may be alternate ways of moving the water down that hill, but that's again, engineering. Anything else?
I think you covered it. I'll open it up to the public.
I guess for comments on the site visit, if you have any.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
general comments.
Yeah.
My name's Bob Hedden. I'm the owner of across from Lot 7.
Okay.
I'd like to just step back. All these details are very important, and I appreciate the awareness of them. But Town of Hinesburg has a town plan. And in the town plan, there's these top priority actions. And there are 4 bullets that I'd like to emphasize. The first, of course, is facilitate public and private partnerships for new housing, affordable senior, reasonably priced, and for rehabilitation of existing housing. Support affordable and reasonable priced housing townwide with emphasis on higher densities in the village. The 4th bullet is guide development to minimize agricultural and forestry impacts. Now, this development project is in an agricultural zone 2, I believe. And also intertwines with the designated wildlife habitat, both block and core. 5th bullet, direct development to minimize impacts on natural systems in Chapter 5 with emphasis on wildlife habitat and connectivity. And in the first meeting, Andrea Magnetti emphasized... Morganti, thank you. I'm glad she's not here. Otherwise, I'd be lambasted.
She's watching.
In connectivity, which she made a point to address. And the 6th bullet, encourage the voluntary protection of existing and potentially productive agricultural and forest land. So my point is, this project is creating a little oasis on agricultural land and wildlife habitat and densely forested, which you all observed, although if you went up further, as Rob pointed out, there's some big girthed maple trees, is totally antithesis to the intent of the town plan. Now, there are motivations. Jason Bedard's motivation is obvious, fee for service. We've heard from Andrea. We haven't heard from the perpetrator himself, Mr. Frost. I would invite him to state his reasons and motivations for this project as it relates to the town plan and his own intentions. Now, the other engineering details, if this should ever go forward, can be addressed later. Thank you.
Any comments?
Perpetrator's kind of a
Yeah, I don't need-
It should, the better
I
word
don't
should
need
be
to-
applicant.
applicant, yeah.
I personally don't need to know why you want to build there, so, as one board member.
Well, just to clarify, Rob, this proposal is using up the last of your allowable lots.
No,
Can I just say one thing? It's actually Rob and Ann,
Rob and Ann?
please. And so Rob and Ann can explain, please.
I thought I understood that you have like 97 acres up there, and you're carving off,
We have 89 plus
you're
27.
carving off 2 proposed lots that total just a little bit more than 7. And you have, under our relatively new regulations, certain developable lot densities. And my recollection, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm missing by 1 lot, but my understanding was these 2 lots would exhaust the development potential on your remaining 80 or 90.
Actually, if I can clarify this. We're talking about 2 different properties. Rob and Ann have an 89-acre property that fronts a Class 4 road, and the density is 1 unit per 15 acres, which means that they have the opportunity for their 89-acre lot to have 5 dwelling units, one of which happens to be their existing residence. And then you have the 27-acre property that was part of the O'Neill subdivision. And as part of that subdivision, that particular property was designated with 2 dwelling units, one of which is the existing farmhouse. And they're creating 2 lots, one from, let's just say, the one that happens to be part of the original O'Neill subdivision, and they're utilizing one of the developable units of the 89-acre property to create the second one, which means that they could have 3 more developable lots if they chose to.
Carved out of the remainder of the larger parcel,
Right.
the largest
And of
parcel.
course, they'd have to come back to the Development Review Board for an application, should they wish to do that.
So just to the point of our intentions, we never, when we bought the 27 acres, we didn't buy it to develop it. We bought it, and Ann's parents were actually looking to buy the lot that Jenny bought, and so we realized that there's potential here for a homestead for Ann's parents. And then when we got involved in that, I talked to Jason about the potential of 1 additional lot, or the feasibility of an additional lot for my niece and nephew who have been looking for a piece of land in the area. So that was our motivation. And in terms of, protecting the agricultural land, I mean, potentially, we have livestock. I'm a farmer. We could potentially clear all of that land. I can clear it for 27 acres of agricultural land. I can cut every tree and make it all pasture. That's not what we're trying to do. I mean, we want to preserve the maple forest. We want to preserve the wildlife section of the land. That's what we're trying to do, but we're also trying to incorporate a couple lots and for family. Okay, now it's your turn.
Can I make a quick comment about what I saw out there today?
Sure.
So I guess I would just comment that the property is an interesting location if you were to zoom out further, in that it's essentially an island of forested habitat surrounded by farmland mostly, or prior farmland. And there's at least one pond sort of off to the east or southeast of the property, and some wet land, including the La Platte, which is down to the south. And my background is in herpetology, I study reptiles and amphibians, so I'm always sort of looking at it from that perspective. Animals that would use those habitats, those wetland habitats to the south and east, snakes, frogs, whatnot, they generally don't spend their winters under the water. They're gonna go up to higher ground to overwinter, which in this case is likely this patch that we looked at today where we saw the ledge and sort of that rocky habitat right up top. We're looking at lot 1. That sort of open rock habitat is where they can get down in and sort of get underground to escape frost and that type of thing. I don't think it's likely that there's any endangered species there or anything that's super rare. But I would just mention that the way that in particular lot 1 is configured, you're essentially, you're definitely disturbing that sort of overwintering habitat up top, on top of the ledge there, and you're also creating a cut and a driveway that goes up through the forest where a lot of those animals would be potentially moving. So I guess I would just comment in the sort of the larger context of not just looking at the individual lot. I know that's not necessarily why you guys are here today, but something to consider, and maybe when you guys come back for a future, for your preliminary or whatever, maybe there's some way to configure that lot a little bit differently, or shrink the building envelope so as to minimize those impacts on some of those other animals out there.
So can you give us a suggestion of how we would do that?
No, I mean, I'm not an engineer, unfortunately. I can't look at it and say, oh, I know, if you put the driveway this location or that location. Certainly the more we can shrink building envelopes and clearing envelopes, the better. And minimize, just the disturbance to what's there naturally. I mean, those animals certainly can still cross roads, they can cross driveways. But if we can, keep the forest as it is, keep the rocks as they are.
Would it be better to shrink the building up by bringing the northern line further south, or to bring these southern lines further north?
I don't know.
So I'll just comment on
Sure.
why the lots were laid out that way.
Yeah.
In terms of access, we do need to maintain that existing road that we walked down at the end of the meeting, so that was the most logical point. And also realize there is ledge, there's a lot of other ledge features, but the whole purpose was to really sort of push everything closest to the south to stay in close contact with O'Neill Road, or stay closer to O'Neill Road, allow enough room for the wastewater system. So in terms of parcel size, I think that we've really done a good job. We've worked with Rob. We have taken a lot of consideration in how those are laid out. Don't want to squeeze the building envelopes a whole lot more if we don't have to. I mean,
So let me ask you, what's the relevance of the building lot? I mean, if we have an envelope big enough to build a house, what's the purpose of the additional land? Is it for siting the house on that building envelope, or what's?
If you want outbuildings.
Other outbuildings.
Sorry?
If you want outbuilding sheds or.
They certainly don't have, you made the proposal, we're not asking for you to make those that size.
No, but I was asking you what the importance of the building envelope is in terms of us. So are we limited in what we can do? Or, sorry?
We'd rather have it be a little bit bigger, personally, because we've had a lot of applicants come back and have to change it because they want to add a shed.
But we've also had people come back and say, you told us to make it bigger, and that's really not our message.
No, but we don't want it to be made too small either.
But honestly, you know, Dennis, I mean, we have, this was sort of a low impact, you know, my nieces, they're looking at a micro house. It's like a low impact development that I don't see a lot of outbuildings. If there are outbuildings, they're going to be agricultural, so I don't even know if that has to go into that building envelope.
Well, that's up to you guys.
Yeah. You can make them any size you want.
It's going to be a sugar house
You
or...
make them as small as you want, let's put it that way. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say make them any size you want, large,
Yeah.
I mean, aren't they?
Because the reason I say that is because there's reference, you know, to the size of the building envelopes. That's why I asked the question in terms of wildlife.
Actually, Jason, might be clearer if you could say how big of an area is the building envelopes themselves?
I'm gonna say we're probably just around 3/4 of an acre for each one, maybe. So I haven't measured out, we haven't done the square footage, but we try to stay somewhere within half to an acre is what we generally shoot for with a building envelope. If you get less than half an acre, it's really tight. You don't have a lawn, you know what I mean, it's tight.
So do I hear you to say, Rob and Ann, that whether or not the official driveway for Lot 1 comes along the existing farm road, more or less, the farm road is going to stay in active operation? Does it?
I don't see that, you know, ideally...
Does it access, I guess my question is, does the farm road have relevance to your interior properties, like a logging
No.
road or something like that? Because
Well, what
I don't
I'm
see it as a
trying-
farm road going to Lot 1.
So my question would, I'd rather not build two roads. And I would think that we would all rather not have, you know, carving two roads into this property. So it seems that we would pick one of two.
But what,
And so
but
well, my point was that if we're carving a road from, say, well, I'm sorry, I don't know the number of the...
13.
Road 13, it would make more sense to access both lots from one road, and that would then also allow us access.
But my question is, what relevance does this farm road have to this property and your interior property if it's not used as a driveway to Lot 1?
If it's not used as a driveway to Lot 1, then no.
So it's not a logging road for acres of...
No. I mean, we would then have better access off from Road 13, and I couldn't imagine why we would want to go up that hill if we have a better access another way.
Which hill?
Sorry?
Which hill?
Lot 1 hill.
Which is steeper than the Farm Road hill. And
So
if I might add,
You mean your preference is to come off Town Road 13 or
No.
O'Neill Road?
No, I don't have a preference. O'Neill Road would be our preference.
Yes.
So you come up into Lot 1 and then go over into Lot 2?
And access, you know, once you get up on top, it's fairly flat.
Yeah.
So accessing
Yeah.
either lot once you're
I mean
on top
over
of
to
the
Lot
hill.
7.
7, sorry.
I don't know if it's going to be 7.
So not use this, but come across here like this.
Some of
Right.
Right.
part of it was because
Right.
of the old mill subdivision.
There's way less driveway if you go off Town Road 13.
Yes and no,
But
unless
he
you
might have to-
continue all the way over to
But he's gonna have
Lot
to
1.
And you have to upgrade Town Road
Still a
13.
road.
13.
yeah, and then I have, right.
Right, but it's already an existing road as far as hardscape is.
Yeah, you're not making a new hardscape on that road. It's already impervious.
But on the other hand, there's also a road a farm road that's existing that we're upgrading too.
it's not impervious.
But, well,
I paid dearly a couple years ago to have that put out in the trench.
We'll call on you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Do you have anything from the site visit you'd like to add, or?
I came away thinking two things. One, it seems like that Road 13 did obviously have some water issues. And it seems like if you have properties there that would be mitigating some of those issues, it seems like it would ease some of the pressure on the road and would be overall a good thing for that to be happening. That was observation number one. observation number 2 was, to Bob's point, I guess, that he, maintains that road. It seems like, if you put 2 more houses there, maybe there's a little bit more help there to help maintain that road through the winter, as one thing. And then the other thing, in terms of concern about the wildlife, my property is just off of Boonton Road, adjacent to the Needhams, and almost touching the Frosts at the back end of their 97 acres. And, I see owls at my place all the time, picking off mice around my house. Yay, happy about that. And I see turtles and stuff moving across to the swamp that's shared between the Needhams and myself. So I think, the wildlife will just meld around it. They'll have an open space to hunt in for the hunting birds, the hawks and the redtails that are nesting on one of my tree lines will be just fine. So I don't see any problems that can't be overcome with smart engineering of this development. And I don't have any opposition to it at all. And I think it's something, if you're going to talk about plans of Hinesburg, I think one of the things probably in the plan you can find is to support families. That's the idea of what they're trying to do. And it seems to me that that's exactly what the Frosts are trying to do with their own land. And I have no opposition to it, and I think the project should be allowed to go forward.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? What's the password to this? Please.
You're not just gonna blurt it out on camera?
I don't think Alex would be happy if I did that.
Thank you. We had a letter from the Trails Committee. Do you have any comment? The boards have any comment on that, or do you guys?
That was a letter to Rob, wasn't it? That was unanswered?
Same letter last time.
Yeah.
It was sent to us.
And honestly, I did not get a chance to read it.
Okay.
I mean, I thought it was to talk about adding like a 20-foot easement down the western side. Yeah, way over here, down that
It has
side.
to do with that western boundary more
Yep.
than it does the parcel we're referring to.
Right.
Did you read it?
But I spoke with her.
You did.
Very good.
So
Never
we
had
had
a
a
member, at least on
I
the
just want to
minutes.
mention that it was sent.
Well, I don't really know a whole lot more than what we discussed at the last meeting, but
Okay.
it does have to do with that, the western property line of ours. And, yep, and having access to that. And we were discussing that it probably had more to do with Jade Jennings' property.
Well, they're trying.
You might want to point that out, right, where it is.
Or if I can add here, there's already an existing easement for properties north over here,
Yep,
and they're trying to, but they can only utilize this when they have a full connection.
right.
And yours would be the next piece, and they're already the Trails Committee is already talking to
Jade, yeah.
Jade and Danielle as far as possibly.
So it really doesn't have anything to do with what we're
Okay.
talking about tonight.
Okay.
Well,
So I think the reason
actually-
is because you're modifying that property, merging and they're just thinking, since you're redoing the deeds or whatever, the legal stuff, now would be a good time to put in the 20-foot easement while all that legal stuff's going on instead of doing it later. So you're right, it doesn't have anything to do directly with that, but I think it's just now is a convenient time because of the
Okay, yeah.
legal work you'll have to do.
In addition, though, you are utilizing one of the lots from your 89
That
acre
89
property.
acres is actually part of this proposal. They're taking a development right off of it and moving it down to this section and incorporating the remainder of the lot onto the 89 acres, I understand. So it's being touched as part of this subdivision. And Trent, and as Mitch laid out in the original report, that you could do this in like 3 steps where you merge and and have one big lot, and then say I've got now 6 development rights, I'm gonna use 2 of them down here, but he's saying, why do that in stages when it's obvious that that can be done? So it is part of this subdivision.
Right, I just didn't mean it was physically
Oh,
Right.
right.
located to it.
Right. It's
And
not
one of
adjacent.
my concerns about me giving up a 20-foot easement, us giving up a 20-foot easement, is the people that use the trail live in Charlotte, and they don't give up anything. So if there was a combined effort that they gave up 10 feet and we gave up 10 feet, I would certainly be more interested, because they use it now. It's a vast trail. They actually mow it with a lawnmower and walk on it. So
Is that the Charlotte line right there?
Yeah, it is,
Yes.
yeah.
So where's the
those-
Charlotte line? Could you put it on the map, please?
The westerly side of our property line.
It's literally right here. This is the Charlotte
Thank you.
Hinesburg line.
And so, you know, our neighbors to the west, again, use this, and
Yep.
I
It's
don't
not
see
their
why it couldn't be a combined. I know that's an inter-town issue, but it's not, to me, it's,
Should be shared.
right.
So you guys are willing to give up 10 feet? Is that what you're
Right.
saying?
Yes.
So is it
We've
currently,
essentially
I'll pass the
protecting
line to
have for the last 20 some odd years. There's a vast trail, and you know, it really limits me on what I can do there, because, you know, I want to build fences. I'd love to fence that in and have my cattle out there in the winter, and it really restricts me on what I can do. I can't cut, you know, I have to cut trees at certain times because of, you know, it's going to cross the trail. So it definitely limits us. We've given up some of our property rights, honestly. We moved it because it used to go diagonally across our property, and we had issues with, we'll say we had issues.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. Cross-country skiers, when we lived there, didn't have power, we had a generator. Someone was cross-country skiing on our land and called the town and complained about the sound of our generator.
In the middle of 89 acres.
So that was, but. you know,
Anyway,
And a snowmobiler running over a fence post.
Yeah.
But- So we've had issues, but we've, you know, for the greater good, allowed the vast trail on probably 20 feet of our property for the last 20-plus years.
Okay.
so does the vast trail continue on across the Danielle property?
It does, yeah. Yeah, right, it does go across the Jenny's property now.
Okay.
And you know, it's a clear, open field to the west.
Okay.
It would be really easy to have a trail through, instead they came in with chainsaws and cut all of our trees to make room for the trail when there's a wide open field.
on the Charlotte side,
Anyways,
we digress.
I won't vent anymore.
Board members have any other questions? Any more comments from the public?
Yes. I just wanted to comment on the staff comments on the staff report. That the staff, I assume is Mitch, put together.
Yes.
On your staff comments, item number 5, alternate driveway location. And
Just listen.
it says that the road to utilize the same driveway as proposed lot number 7, there would be less disturbance to the forest, steep slopes, agricultural stores, soils, and less stormwater runoff.
It seems though that the.
And-
Oh, go ahead.
okay.
I'll wait till you-
That is, I mean, we just walked through there. I'm not sure if all of us can agree with that, as opposed to the milder slope that the item number 4 driveway location on O'Neill Road would be. So that would have to be determined, if there would be less stormwater runoff. And I would suggest that you would need a legitimate hydrology study of that ridge, that mountain, if you will. I might add, I have a pond on the farther side, and all that water comes off that hill. And my pond level changes about 6 feet between summer and winter. And also, you'll notice a new dry-type transformer between my property and the property at 588. And you'll notice there's a swale there, and even today, there's water running down through there. They had to replace that dry-type transformer, Green Mountain Power, because it was sagging off to one side. My point is that the hydrology of that hill is very dynamic. And I don't think we can make a statement there would be less stormwater runoff if this development were to proceed. And a hydrology study would be, I think, necessary.
Well, if I could, all
Can I
right, you,
speak to
no,
that?
go ahead, you go ahead.
So there will be, when you do stormwater evaluation, you actually model different rain events, precipitation events, and those get equated into how your stormwater design is done. So that will be part of the stormwater permit design. That's, all the site will be modeled, all the impervious area. So that will be done as part of the permit.
And I'll just simply add that it appears that the applicant is very willing to combine driveways, to either have it either from Town Road 13 or that farm road.
Yes, well, I'm pleased to hear that.
I mean, Rob, Ann, I mean, am I hearing you correctly?
And Rob and Ann also indicated that they would prefer the driveway location on O'Neill Road. And I see that as a better way, starting from fresh rather than trying to manipulate the Town Road 13, which had to be blasted to get it the state it is now, for my home to be built. And as someone pointed out, you can't change the slope from here to here if you've only got so much distance and you got so much height. Just can't do it.
So you would prefer that we access via O'Neill Road?
Absolutely. But for some obvious reasons too.
Yeah, no, I understand. I just never wasn't clear whether you wanted help with the road or you want the road to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So anything else?
Yeah.
For now.
Is that it?
Yes, thank you very much.
Is that it? All right. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and take this up in deliberative session.
I would second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you all.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Admirable, folks. Appreciate it all.
Sure.
Thank you.
We have other business?
I'll just,
Other business?
the other business, I'll just mention that, yes, I did get a complete application from CSWD, so they will be coming in on the next meeting.
Awesome.
And we have also on the agenda the continuation of Donovan and O'Donnell. And
Have they reached any conclusions?
I had a couple of communications right after the meeting, but they're looking at just focusing in on the Mechanicsville Road, leaving the overall plan that they provide as a master plan, but really coming in specifically for with a sketch on the Mechanicsville Road, and they're going to hopefully have a chance to talk to the select board as far as different thoughts as far as their density bonus, and trying to address that on just that one particular part of the application. I have a really big application from NRG, and if they can get me a bunch of additional information and some upgrades to their application by end of tomorrow, I'm going to schedule them and put them as the only thing on for September 3rd. And that is an 80,000 square foot industrial office park. on the south side of Riggs Road. Hopefully, they'll be able to provide the additional information so that can go forward.
Multi-floor, I take it, or
Hmm?
2 floors, 1 floor? What's there?
There's going to be, the office building is 2 floors, the industrial buildings, it's 5 buildings altogether. One is an office, the other 4 are industrial manufacturing, and they will have small second floors. It'll be mostly 1 story, but, or I should say interior-wise, it'll have 1 story. It'll have like a 2-story look on the outside, but mostly 1 story.
Okay.
I will not be here on the 20th. For those 2.
Does everybody plan on being here on September 3rd?
Should be. That's the day after.
No.
It's the day
Labor
after.
Day.
Yeah.
Second.
No, it's
Day after Labor Day.
It's the day after Labor Day. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually need to talk to you. I might be gone for the month of September. So we need to decide if you want me to start an application. You know what I mean? If you start one on September 3rd, do you want me to be involved in it?
I would.
I mean, I can talk to you about it later.
Yeah,
I'm not
we can
for
see.
sure.
Well, you'd only miss 1 meeting then.
Huh?
We would only really miss 1 meeting.
I'll talk to you off the air.
Okay.
So do we want to go into deliberative session, or do you want to do it?
Sure. Move to go into deliberative session.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Signing off.
How was the pop-up park today?